irregular heartbeat. I told you, every time I had the vertigo, I had the irregular heartbeat. Racing heartbeat. Skipping heartbeat. Chest pains / costochondritis. Solar plex tightness. I forgot what the solar plex was, but when I googled it at that time, I had it.
And I remember him coming over and him asking if I was okay. I'm not sure what I told him. I'm pretty sure I told him I'm dizzy because I just remember just telling everybody that I'm just really, really dizzy. I'm really, really weak. I was sitting at my desk and my head was down on my keyboard. And I couldn't look up because every time I looked up I got even dizzier. And my boss came over and I think he asked about how I was doing. And then I remember somebody else's voice saying, do you need any water? I think the guy sitting next to me, he's like, do you need any water? And I remember saying no. I remember that. At some point I remember another female voice come. And I think it's with a lady that I've worked with a while. I'm pretty sure I know who she is. And then she asked me how I was feeling. I remember that, and I told her I was feeling very dizzy. I said I was feeling very weak. And she said, have you ever had vertigo before? And I'm like, why is this lady asking me all these questions right now? I'm getting ready to hear die on this desk, and she's asking me what vertigo, I don't know what vertigo is. Stop asking me all these questions.
Muscle weakness. Every single time I had my vertigo attacks, I got so weak where I can barely move. There was one time I had to actually crawl to the bathroom a couple times in one sitting. Muscle tension. Yes. I have something I developed here in my left leg. Stiffness and tension out of the blue. I'm a very flexible person, so this was a very weird symptom that just came out of the blue all of a sudden. Chronic joint pain. I've been having that in in my hip area and stuff. It used to be just one of my hips in the past. When I was younger, when it started when I was 12, but it worsened after 2018 in both of my hips. Inflexible. So I'm not as flexible as I was before. I'm still flexible because I'm naturally double jointed, but I'm not as flexible as I was before. And this is while I was still working out. Eye soreness. Sensitivity to light. My eyes are very, very sensitive to light. When I'm in the dentist's office and they're doing my teeth and my eyes are watering, and they be like, the dentist is like, oh, it's gonna be over soon, don't cry, I know you're in pain. I'm not in pain. That light up there is killing my eyes. Again, I thought that was normal. I thought everyone went through that, but apparently not. Seeing stars, eye floaters all the time. First of all, I see stars every time I stand up, and it's even worse when I'm dehydrated. And eye floaters all the time. Ringing in the ear. I constantly have ringing in this right ear, and especially recently it's been worse, and I hear it worse at nights when I'm about to sleep and is really tired, or when I first park my car and the parking lot is really quiet where my car is. Terrible ringing in my right ear. Ear pressure, that was happening around the time that I was having my severe vertigo attacks, where it felt like there was water in my ear when there wasn't, and I had to keep doing this until it finally got some kind of relief. By the way, it's one of the worst feelings in the world if that has not happened to you. Imagine you going inside the pool and water getting in your ear, that feeling you get, but picture that feeling in your ear all the time. Laying down, every time I lay down back on my head like this, I feel vertigo. I get dizzy. And I guess when I stop the car, I can show you guys my neck brace that I'll be wearing, because apparently it's going to help keep my head in certain positions, so if I move it I don't get dizzy or as dizzy. Got a lot of issues, man. My bones are not what they used to be. I'm getting old. I'm here wearing neck braces to work on a computer. What the heck? Guess I have to turn on a light switch. So I'm at work and I'm going in 2 minutes. Oh, let me show you my neck brace. That was the reason I turned you guys on to begin with, and I almost forgot. I think I'm supposed to put it on like this. My head is supposed to go, or it's supposed to level up with that little groove. This is really embarrassing. Not because I'm wearing a neck brace, it's why I'm wearing one. Do I look fashionable? Girl, does she look fashionable? Same thing happened to him. The regular vertigo, where I can't move for at least half an hour to 4 hours. I'm just laying in the bed, just disoriented, can't move, can't talk, can't do anything at all, and the whole world is just spinning. Like, I know the world spins, but like it's even spinning more than usual. Like you actually feel the world spinning. Sensitive to heightened emotions. Yes, and I would get like goosebumps for like something small. Like if I see like a cute like puppy or something, all of a sudden like I would just get like goosebumps. Like I just have the biggest emotion in the world, and it's not even that serious, but it feels like it is in that moment. And I'm like, it really wasn't that serious. Like, why am I getting goosebumps like this? It's so weird. Like, you would have to know what I'm talking about, like if you were in this situation. Bad dreams. I started having bad dreams, not excessively, but every once in a while I would have like a string of bad dreams, when typically I don't even remember my dreams most of the time, and I especially don't even have bad ones. Heat and cool sensations, yes. Butterflies in my stomach, yes. Brain fog. When the vertigo first started, that was when I was getting brain fog. I didn't know what it was at that time. In hindsight, I figured out what it was, and I wish I would have explained that to the urgent care doctor when this was going on, because I didn't know what that was at that time. It's like an outer body experience. So they put me into the stretcher, and by this time, like when I'm like really like hyperventilating and I'm nervous and I'm stressed, like I just start shaking. So it's almost like I felt really cold, so I'm shaking the whole time. So they were asking me if I like suffered from seizures, and I was like, no, I don't suffer from seizures. I just start feeling cold when I'm like going through these high stressful situations. And then they start asking me a whole bunch of questions while I'm in the ambulance, but I don't remember. I hardly remember what I was like in and out of consciousness. I couldn't remember. I remember at some point they asked me for my ID, and they told me I'm gonna have to go into my bag and get my ID out. Listen, I didn't even know I had my bag. I don't know who grabbed the bag. I don't know who was talking to me. Decreased memory function. When I'm in that state of vertigo, I can't remember anything. I remember when I did get sick the one time while I was at work, and the ambulance showed up to my job. It was so embarrassing. In a stretcher. They came into the building, had a stretcher, put me on a stretcher and took me out into the parking lot. And I remember going to the hospital, and at some point they were asking me, they're like, have you been to this hospital before? My mom was in the room with me, so she can vouch for me. And I was in the room, and she was in the room, and they were asking me if I've been to the hospital before, and I was like, yeah, I've been here. And then like 2 hours later, when I started coming back to my senses, and my mom was like, why were you telling people that you've been to this hospital before? I'm like, wait, what hospital am I at? I was thinking the whole time I was like at another hospital, and at some point I remember I was told which hospital I was, but I have forgotten. Oh, it's so embarrassing. 300 people, because there were like 300 people in the area I was working in. I remember them loudly asking how old I was. I told them how old I was, and then their follow-up question was, is there any possibility that you could be pregnant? I'm like, are they really asking me this in front of like 300 people? And although I was dying, or what I thought I was dying at this point, my only thought this whole time with me laying on that stretcher and me not being able to see or hardly breathe was, this is the most embarrassing moment of my entire life. I felt more embarrassment than anything else. And then I was like, no, I just remember saying no. I said no. There's no possibility. There's no possibility. You're asking me if I'm pregnant, like in front of all of these people. No, the answer is no. I remember them pulling the stretcher up. Like, it wasn't already embarrassing enough that everybody was looking at me. I'm sure they were looking at me. Who wouldn't be looking at a girl on a stretcher, you know, in the middle of a building? They took the stretcher and they pulled that stretcher all the way up. I felt like, I couldn't see it, but I felt it. Like I was about 15 feet in the air. Like, why? They pulled the stretcher up all the way up to the very high sky, so everybody and their mama in this whole building, this whole office can see me. Dizziness, I told you about my dizziness. I've had dizziness ever since I can remember, just really bad dizziness all the time. Feeling off balance, yes, especially when I'm going through the vertigo. Low blood pressure. Told you about that low blood pressure. Higher blood. I don't know what that means. I think I didn't write it all the way out, but I think it meant higher blood pressure. But I told you I get the higher blood pressure when I'm going through a vertigo attack. Brain zaps. That was a new symptom that I didn't know about. The brain zap. You feel like little tingling stuff in your head. I was feeling that. I just didn't know what that was, and I started getting so used to it that I wasn't even making a big deal out of it. Like I wasn't paying attention. Like it wasn't like that deep. Girl, brain zap. I figured out what it was. Easily out of breath. This happens every once in a while. I would say maybe like about 4 times a week when I'm coming up them stairs. And I am a fit person. I am in shape. I don't want to brag or anything, but I told you, like, I am an exercise fiend. But sometimes when I'm coming up those stairs, it is harder than other days. I'm not overweight. Even though I've been gaining weight, I am still not overweight. There's no reason I should be out of breath. Lower metabolism, yes. Because it's harder for me to burn weight even when I'm not eating anything. I'm still not able to lose weight. Weight gain. Increased fat in midsection, which, yeah, I guess so. And bloating. A lack of concentration. Okay, with the whole throwing up thing, when I was younger, every single time I noticed that it happened was after I had sweets. So I didn't have sweets often, but when I did have sweets, I got sick. Like if it was Easter, I would eat a whole bunch of candy that day, and I always knew. I knew when I woke up in the morning, I would be sick and throwing up. Happened all the time. I always knew that. As I got older as an adult, as like in my teens and my early 20s, every time after Thanksgiving and Christmas, I got very, very sick after I had those big meals. So after a while, I just when I was in my mid-20s, I just like basically just cut out, like I just stopped eating as much around Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I never got sick in the morning after. It was always, every time I had a big meal, I'd wake up throwing up the next day. And every time I did throw up, in hindsight, it was after I was eating something sweet. So I started connecting all the dots, and I realized I might have adrenal fatigue issues. When I first got my first vertigo attack, it was when I was eating brownies. And I started experiencing the brain fog, and every time I moved my head and everything, it got worse. When I started feeling better and stuff, after that, I ate some more brownies and got so sick minutes after that I ended up in the emergency room. And not once. I ended up in the emergency room 3 times after I ate sweets, having a severe vertigo attack. So it's no joke. So after I heard about all of this, I just found the secret to life. So I'm like, I finally figured out what my issue is. Now I just have to experiment with the diet that this guy and numerous other people online told me about to see if it actually worked. So that's what I did. So I cut out sugar and caffeine and other stuff. And I forgot to tell you, at the time that all of this stuff started happening, I was doing a very early shift. I was doing a 6 to 2 shift plus overtime, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift plus overtime. And I was getting like 3 to 4 hours of sleep at the time. I was working out excessively at the gym. I would spend like 45 minutes on the elliptical, and then I'd spend like another hour doing weight training, working on my abs and everything else. And I was also intermittent fasting, so keep that in mind. All of that wreaked havoc on my body, and it destroyed my body at that time, which caused all these things, and for it to last all these years because I didn't know what was going on. So anyways, so I stopped eating sugar, I stopped with the caffeine, I tried to sleep and eliminate as much stress as possible. And like 3 weeks in, I wasn't really feeling the difference. So I was thinking, dang man, maybe this isn't it, because I'm not feeling any better. Then I started eating, I had to take it a step further. I started eating very bland food. I had only salt and pepper in it, and I did that for like 2 weeks, and I was still very bloaty. So I'm like, maybe I have to take this a step further. So after that, so it was like 3 weeks of no sugar and no caffeine and me getting a lot of sleep, and then 2 weeks of eating foods with just salt and pepper and all proteins. And then the ultimate, I just basically started doing meal planning with just straight vegetables, proteins, which is like just like chicken and meat, not even eggs, and absolutely no seasoning. I did that for about a week and a half before I started noticing a difference. The bloating went away. I started losing weight. I was just feeling amazing. I started feeling like my old self again. I'm like, I found the cure. And then, due to circumstances beyond my control, I had to start eating regular food again. And there was a point I was just eating salad every day. But I had to start eating regular food again, and this week I just started feeling sick again. The weight started coming back on again, the bloatingness started, all the other symptoms started creeping back in. So basically, I'm making this video to tell you guys that what caused all of my issues over the years, especially with the big crash of 2018, let's call it that, was due to my adrenals being off the chart, due to me overworking my body, overworking at work, and trying to do these weird extreme dieting stuff. It basically messed up my system for years to come. And I would say I was easily able to get it back into order rather quickly, but I wasn't fully committed. But I'm going to be fully committed again in these next few weeks, especially leading up to Thanksgiving, which is going to be in a month from now. I want to eat well on Thanksgiving. So because I was feeling better for a while, I want to go back to feeling better again. So I want to take you on this little journey. I just wanted to share that with you because I've been complaining about my issues and my conditions so much in these past few years, and I just appreciate you guys so much for sticking around and listening to me. And I hope that with this new diet lifestyle change that we can see a big difference. So I'm going to take you on the journey of me lifestyle and me eating better, at least for a while, until I completely heal myself. And then I'm going to give you the biggest update after that, and I will just show you, tell you, prove to you that I finally figured out what was wrong with me, and we can all heal each other. As far as my costochondritis, in those few weeks that I was doing the right thing, it wasn't that bad. And usually now the only time I really feel it is when I'm sleeping, like if I've been sleeping in a bad position or sitting in a bad position. But even when I was doing that, I wasn't feeling anything. As soon as I started eating bad, I started feeling all the symptoms coming on. So that inflammation in there was basically probably caused by the sugars and maybe the seasonings. Maybe I'm extra sensitive to seasonings, I don't know. But if I have to eat bland food for the next couple weeks to heal myself, I'm willing to do it, because I just want to feel healthy. You would have to walk in my shoes to know how badly I feel, and you'll be desperate to make that change too. So yeah, so I'm excited to see how this all works out, and I hope you guys stick along with this journey. I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to do a mini series discussing my health first, or the whole house situation, but health is more important than finding a house right now. So we're going to get this little thing out of the way, and then we can move on to bigger and better things, okay? We have lots of things coming up soon. Alright, thank you so much for tuning into my video, perps. I love you. Pray for me, and I'll pray for you. Bye.